From Guantanamo Bay to Social Security to national security, Thomas Dixon and Dimitri, who are running for both the House of Representatives and the United States Senate, speak exclusively to me for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. Well, Dimitri and Thomas, it is so good seeing you guys.
Good morning. Good to see you also.
I appreciate
always.
This. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Sir.
Well, you know, here we sit here in downtown Charleston, and as you know, the city's still reeling from Hurricane Matthew. Let me start the interview here because obviously, if you go down to many of the districts that you want to represent, Edisto Beach, Bluffton, whatnot, they're devastated. Tell me, where are you emotionally considered right now?
You know, for me, I guess the specificity of what you just asked is more geared toward Dimitri's district, but I can comment though from my U.S. Senate position because I cover the entire state, 46 counties, 3 of which suffered massive damage that even, it's hard to say it pales what's happened here locally, but it's major damage in Williamsburg County, Marion County, and Horry County. And there are many people there that are still underwater and still in need of services and support from the entire state, as many people as can think about it. Of course, we do need it here, and I'm quite sure Dimitri will speak to that.
Yes.
But we have to, no matter, even if we lived here, if we live here and we're from the Low Country right here, we need to always consider the connections that we have across the boundaries, the local boundaries or even the county boundaries, and understand that it's not just a Charleston, Berkeley, Dorchester issue, that is also a Williamsburg, Marion, Horry County issue. And those people right now are suffering after Matthew.
Unfortunately. And Dimitri, you're heading down to Bluffton on Wednesday, I believe.
Actually, I was going to go down today, but I think I have to leave tomorrow instead. And going down there for Hilton Head, Bluffton area to spend a few days, and then I'll be doing it again next week to the Beaufort area, and then the following week to Edisto. And so I want to make sure I go back to all those areas and get around to all those people. But yeah, apparently Beaufort County got hit the worst of anybody. And I've seen some of the photos and some of the reports from my friends down in Hilton Head, and it's just a forest of jumbled trees down there that they've all been taken care of the last week or so. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happened. But you know, in the big picture, we dodged a bullet on this one. I mean, yeah, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And it, you know, we need to be prepared. And I just hope that people in the future don't think that this one wasn't so bad, you know. And there was, all of us had some friends that stuck it out. You stuck it out, and stuff. You know, I was up in Columbia, but you know, I think a lot of people, hopefully for the next one, won't go, well, I'm going to stick it out. And then the next one, we do get a 15-foot tidal surge, and you know, it wipes everything out, and we get hundreds of people dying. So I hope people still are as cautious in the future as they were this time.
And you are actually heading down there on Wednesday. What do you want to hear from the people of Bluffton, Beaufort County, and whatnot?
Well, you know, we'll continue. Things will go on. So I mean, this one wasn't bad enough that I think anybody's going to be scared away. But you know, what we're facing in the long term is rising seas. There's no question about that. You know, we just passed 400 parts per million permanently, you know, of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and that means we will have guaranteed, nothing we can do about it at this point, a 30-foot sea rise in the coming years. The only question is how soon. And some people are predicting it may be 10 feet by 2050, and some people are predicting it may be all 30 feet by 2100. So you may be around in 2100. I don't think either of us will.
I might not make it.
So yeah.
But Jesus will be back then.
yes, we'll hope for that first.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm frustrated with our current Congress and all of our administrations is they've just been kicking this can of climate change down the road. And now it's gotten to the point where it's not just climate change, it's actually taking care of rising seas. I mean, how do we migrate 200 million people here in the United States to higher ground? And I've been thinking about it, and I have a plan, and I would love to start working on things with people, but this is something that our current people in Congress in Washington just don't even talk about. So I think it's something we need to get going.
Then we Then we also have those who just deny that it is a problem.
Yeah.
That global warming, climate change is a problem. So in denying that there's a problem, you definitely will not address the issue. Basically, that's saying, no, that's not even the issue, so we won't address it. But the reality is, if we think logically, like with the way that the governor here in South Carolina handled this imminent danger, she did extremely well. I'm not going to take anything from her. But it's based on the historical data and evidence that was compiled that led her up to be able to make the right decisions about lane reversals on I-26, about early announcements and things like that, mobilization of whatever teams were necessary. It was the previous experiences that led her to be able to make the right decisions. One right decision that wasn't made was reversing the lanes for about 12 hours to come back to Charleston. Right. I'll put that one on record too, right now. But the same way that she learned from that in order to effectively deal with the hurricane from this standpoint, with this state, and really effectively do it, we need to, the same thing needs to be done through climate change. The evidence is solid. There is a progression. So I don't understand why somebody would look at the evidence and say, no, that's not really it. Instead of just doing what's necessary through the evidence to make sure that as we move forward, we make it safer and better for everyone.
Speaking of which, let me stay on the issues. Describe to me the following one word: Social Security.
Wednesday. Yeah, that's when I get my check.
Oh. Let me go further because, obviously there's a difference between you and Senator Tim Scott's stance on Social Security.
Yes.
When you think of Social Security, what sticks out to you?
The fact that my check is not enough to last me for a month, first off, at $9,600 annually for Social Security. If I wasn't married and my wife had employment, I would probably be homeless, okay, at this time. $801 a month is not enough money for anyone to survive off of. Now, God forbid that I have any medical situations or anything like that.
Right.
Then those are the things that really begin to impact that $801. Car breaks down,
Right.
Children need something, A person like Scott, first off, has not been impacted by Social Security, and he might, because of his investments and his supporters, might not really be impacted that much about it. Right now, Scott's worth is about $4 million. So he might be pretty well good to go by the time he rounds that 60. He might even not even, this collected at 62. I had to. I literally had to. Because my employment was not available to me. The more applications I put out, the more I was refused work because of an ex-felon.
Right.
Now, as far as the future of Social Security, we need to make some significant strides in order to ensure that not only is money available for Social Security, but that we do everything that we can in order to ensure that our seniors that are in their golden years and approaching their golden years have a better quality of life than they're currently receiving. We should be fixing the system in order to ensure that Social Security, that those that have contributed and paid into our America, that their life gets better, not worse, that their choices are better, not worse, that their health care is better, not worse, that their bank accounts are fuller, not lesser. And that's the only way to deal with it. But every time, what I've seen with Senator Scott and the Republican Party is every time that they have a pet project, the people they pick on are the veterans and the senior citizens. They go right after their money and their benefits. I guess until you become a senior citizen and you have to apply for SSI, you really don't understand the necessity of having good benefits in there. I understand it. Wednesday.
I would be strengthened.
Wow.
And we need to strengthen Social Security. I mean, for everything, all the reasons Thomas said. But that brings up a good point. So many people, so many friends that I have say this week off with the hurricane.
Right.
Now they're in that situation. Basically, the few $100s they had saved up, and whether they're on Social Security or whether they're just earning minimum wage or they're they're struggling, whatever kind of jobs they have, so many people have so little money saved up that this hurricane knocked a lot of people back. And there were a lot of people that didn't want to leave and then ended up having to buy hurricane supplies. And so now they're still out of money, even though they didn't leave. And then the friends that did leave, maybe they had someplace to stay, but if you're still spending more money getting out there, like just the tanks of gas. I know friends whose cars broke down heading out. Their cars aren't good enough to actually make it all the way up to Columbia or something like that. So, I mean, in general, Social Security is covering our older people, and it should be adequate, and it should be, like you said, a decent amount of money to live off of. And the other part of that is, of course, housing costs. And what are housing costs? And it sort of goes back to the living wage argument. A living wage is different in different parts of the country simply because of the cost of housing, the cost of food, and things like that. Here in Charleston, a living wage may be $18 an hour. In downtown Manhattan, a living wage may be $45 an hour, but it may be in Des Moines, Iowa, a living wage is $10 an hour or something like that. It really depends on the cost of housing. And if you can rent a place for $250 a month, that's great. Then your living wage can go down. Same thing for Social Security, and maybe it has to be reflected, where you live or something like that. I don't know, but we have to make sure that the payments that are coming out are adequate for people to live on comfortably. And number two, that the program is well funded. And I know as a monetary systems expert, we will never run out of money in the federal government. That's just an impossibility. It just doesn't happen that way. So it's just a matter of priorities. Where do we want to spend our dollars? And if we say that we want to spend our dollars by giving or on giving corporations breaks, well, we've tried that now for 40 years, and where are we? I'll tell you where we are. 75% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck because of that. 40 years ago it wasn't that way at all. So no, let's say that whole experiment with neoliberalism economics has been a failure, and let's go back and decide where we want to spend our money. And I say spend our money on our seniors, because that way they're going to have more money to pump into the economy that makes more jobs for other people. Let's spend more money on a minimum wage for people. So again, there's more money in the economy, because dollars flow up through the economy. They don't trickle down from the rich. You give a rich guy a tax break, and what does he do with it? He puts it into his investments. And where are those? Who knows? They're in Wall Street somewhere. So yeah, we got a big problem.
Then those same rich people, they go and they invest in people like the Republican Party, who say we shouldn't tax, we shouldn't have the rich to pay more, pay their fair share of the wealthy. With my opponent at $4 million right now, he can afford to pay a higher tax than what he's paying. But you think that he will? No. Because he'll lobby for legislation against that.
Yeah, and he's got the money to lobby for it.
And because of that, what he does is he makes allies with other wealthy people who say they're not going to take my money. But the reality is we live in an America where everybody should be able to see the American dream, to at least be able to plan for vacations or have a savings. But the way it is right now, and I know Scott, he always talks about, well, if you work hard and you go to school and all of these things, well, when you have so many obstacles set against you, one being you have no economic viability, you have no financial stand because of minimum wage or whatever, and you got to get in somewhere, then that as far as that American dream, that dream has become a nightmare for too many people. And ultimately what it does is it aids in the criminality of our society, the safety and well-being of our people, poverty. And I'm so amazed that just recently that Senator Scott and Congressman Gowdy, want to team up on this poverty initiative. Like he just realized that, especially in South Carolina, that we've been either the 8th, 9th, or 10th worst in the nation consistently. So all of a sudden, then it's election year.
It's election year.
Election year. Did he say election year?
Yeah.
We find out that there's poverty in South Carolina and decide, let's do something about it. Too much, too little, too late was a song from the 70s. And basically, they're going to be voted out in November.